Hi guys. So today I'm going to be doing an article summary of an article by Piotr Wozniak called Pleasure of Learning, which I really consider to be an essential read for any student, educator, or just anyone with a stake in the current or future state of the education system. Before I get started, I want to let you know that we're going to be doing a voice chat in the supermemory.wiki Discord on this Sunday. It will be on this article, but you don't actually have to read the entire thing. Just watching this summary alone would be enough. Many people have found the arguments that Piotr makes in this article to be highly unintuitive, and the implications of his arguments to be quite controversial. For that reason, I imagine that there will be a significant portion of the audience of this presentation who will disagree strongly with some of the arguments raised. I know for a fact that Piotr Wozniak would echo the sentiments of the great Geoffrey Hinton, one of the fathers of deep learning research, who in his Turing Award lecture said the following: "The future depends on some student who is deeply skeptical of everything I've said." If you disagree with any of the points raised in this presentation, I would strongly urge you to join the discussion on Sunday. We'd love to have you there. One final point before we get started. There's actually a set of flashcards available to accompany this presentation. Anki and SuperMemo are both supported, and there are some pixel art images to go along with them. They're available on GitHub for free, that those seeking education may find it. So to begin with, Pleasure of Learning is a highly complex and challenging article. I really tried my best to distill the core ideas into this presentation. It includes a large number of concepts from a wide range of academic disciplines, including neuroscience, information theory, evolution, economics, just to name a few. That being said, I would strongly encourage any interested individual to go and read the full article. The core idea of the article can be summed up in Piotr Wozniak's fundamental law of learning that he introduces right at the beginning of the article. The fundamental law of learning can be summed up as: good learning is inherently pleasurable, and without pleasure there is no good learning. As I said in the beginning, this notion is highly unintuitive, and I suspect that you might be more familiar with the idea that learning is displeasurable. For many, schools are a kind of institutionalized misery. Students are like widgets travelling down an assembly line, having education forced upon them. Many of them resort to cram and dump study methods, and as a result they leave school having learned hardly anything that they were supposed to. A similar situation can be seen amongst users of spaced repetition systems. Frequently users will complain of the repetition grind. They feel like they've been transformed into workers at a flashcard factory, just mindlessly mashing the spacebar. This culminates in the glorification of the grind is the glory mindset, in which people believe that displeasure must be endured in order to learn. One common mistake that people make is becoming like an ascetic monk, denying oneself worldly pleasures, forcing oneself to endure displeasurable learning in the hopes of a better afterlife. By contrast, Wozniak insists that good learning is pleasurable, and that our drive to learn is innate, fine-tuned over the course of human evolution. He says that we have a built-in desire to learn new things that he terms the learn drive, and that learning and exploring are inherently rewarding. In order to better understand Wozniak's argument, let's take a look at the process of knowledge valuation, how we value certain bits of information. Knowledge valuation can be thought of as a kind of knowledge comparison. Information enters the brain to be processed and undergoes neural processing, which is an unconscious comparison between the new information and your prior knowledge. And essentially what your brain is asking during the knowledge comparison is this new information consistent with my model of reality? Is it coherent? And is it surprising? All of the answers to those questions will affect the evaluation of that new information. To sum all of that up, what the brain is asking is, does this new piece of information slot in to my model of reality? So to make everything a little bit more concrete, I'd like to show you an example of me reading the Wikipedia article about tree growth. Oh, interesting. Evolutionary adaptation. I definitely know a little bit about evolution, and I've certainly heard of adaptations. They're able to compete better for sunlight. Yeah, that does kind of match with what I've seen in reality. They do look like they're competing with each other. Among the oldest organisms now living. Wow, that's surprising. Wow, how interesting. So imagine that this picture represents my prior knowledge of trees before reading the article. For example, this part of the graph could represent the episodic memories I have of trees. This could be a particularly nice tree I saw while on holiday, and this could be a tree that I remember climbing up and falling out of as a kid and breaking my leg. Then this part of the graph could be all of the declarative knowledge that I know about trees before I read the article. Basically what I'm trying to get at here is that I already had a significant amount of prior knowledge about trees before I started reading the article. That meant that when I encountered new information, I was able to easily slot it in to my models of reality because it was consistent, coherent, and some of it was also surprising. The essential point here that Wozniak is trying to make is that learning consistent, coherent, or surprising information is all likely to get a response from the reward centers in the brain, and this is the source of the pleasure of learning. I'd like to quickly give you a second concrete example by reading an article about quantum mechanics. At the scale of atoms and subatomic particles. I've never heard of subatomic particles before. Quantum physics, quantum chemistry, quantum field theory, quantum technology, quantum information science. Man, I can't seem to be able to connect this to anything in my prior knowledge. The theory of what now? So in the case of quantum mechanics, it was clear that my prior knowledge was lacking and that a lot of the information I was reading was inconsistent and incoherent with my model of reality. You can think of there being a sort of distance between my current model of reality and the model of reality that includes a knowledge of quantum mechanics. I like to think of the semantic distance as the number of jigsaw puzzle pieces that I need to slot in to my jigsaw puzzle of reality in order to understand something like quantum mechanics. One of the downsides of learning inconsistent or incoherent information is that it causes a great deal of displeasure. For example, your eyelids feel heavy, you feel tired, you feel irritated, and none of the information that you're reading seems to actually get assimilated into your brain. So this is really one of the core points that Wozniak wants to emphasize in his article. In order to optimize for short semantic distances, to make our learning as easy and as pleasurable as possible, we need to follow the learn drive. So what does Wozniak mean when he says, follow the learn drive? Well, essentially what he means is that we should learn freely. We shouldn't allow ourselves to be coerced, for example, by following a globally optimized curriculum. Instead, we should simply learn what we enjoy, since this is the most optimal way to learn, and it is also the most pleasurable way to learn. People are often surprised to hear that just following the learn drive is the optimal way to learn something. They are especially skeptical that someone following the learn drive could ever become, for example, a great mathematician or a great scientist. But there are many instances of systems where the component parts make simple, locally optimized decisions, resulting in unpredictable, emergent phenomena. One example is with trees. Cells in a tree know very little about the global growth goals of the tree. They just simply employ some hormonal, biochemical, or biophysical rules that guide the growth of the tree towards light. Similarly, in market economies, you have agents making very simple decisions to buy or sell goods, which leads to an exceptionally complex network of global supply chains for every kind of good and service. And there are many more instances of these kinds of systems in nature. Since the process of knowledge valuation must take place at the level of the learner's own mind through a comparison between new information and the information already stored in their memories, the only optimal solution to learning anything is free learning, learning what you enjoy based on your own prior knowledge. Finally, I'd just like to quickly go back over 3 of the most important golden nuggets from this article. Firstly, the notion that learning should be pleasurable. Secondly, pleasure is optimization. And finally, global optimization can never work in learning. We need to follow the learn drive. So that's it for me today. A reminder to join the discussion in the supermemory.wiki Discord on Sunday if you're interested. Thanks for listening, and send any feedback you have to @experalearning on Twitter.